Welcome, everybody, to the R&R CatCast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R CatCast. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Foley. He's one of your hosts, Ryan Thornburg. We are the Ryans of the R&R CatCast, the Montana State affiliate of the Big Sky Podcast Network. And we are a podcast by the fans for the fans. We hope we are your first listen for Bobcat banter. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing great. Bobcats are 1-0. It was a 3-day weekend. We get to talk some game recap stuff, although you already did with your slick little instant reaction episode. I haven't got a chance to talk about it yet, but yeah, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm well, man. It's back to school time. Tomorrow's actually my very first day of school, which is late for everybody else, but Spokane is special. We try to do it a little bit later, but we get out a little bit later. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Kids are going back to school and can't wait.
All right. Well, back to school. Bobcats are back in school. And they took McNeese State to school. Boom.
Hey, Thorny, why don't you mention our new sponsorship?
Yeah, so this is an exciting thing. Thanks for the semi-weird transition right into this, but let's get it out of the way. We are going to be partnering with Manhattan Bank, based out of Manhattan, Montana. They got, 4 locations, Bozeman, Churchill, Manhattan, and Three Forks. And this is kind of an introductory announcement here. There's going to be more information to come. We're hashing out the details, going to get some, the ads recorded, content, the script, all that good stuff. But just want to throw that out there. It's exciting. A new partnership with Manhattan Bank is going to be our sponsor for this full episode show for 2022, 2023 throughout the calendar year. So we're excited to announce that and look forward to more information. Probably when we record next week. I imagine we'll have it all hashed out and get some more stuff for you. So that's our big announcement. We're pretty excited about it. We love just partnering with local Montana businesses. That means a lot to us. We don't want to just be out here peddling Bombas socks like every other podcast on the planet or whatever, talk radio. So we reached out to them and yeah, we're excited for this partnership. So there's the announcement on that.
Woo! Yes, we are stoked. Excellent news. That's really good stuff. Excited to talk with those guys and get an ad roll and push it out. It's gonna be fun. All right, let's give a little bit of a show rundown of what we got planned for tonight. Like Thorny said, this is a game recap. We do these all the time,
back
but it's
to our
our
normal
first
stuff.
one for the 2023. So we're gonna go over the news. We'll talk about some injury stuff that came out in Coach Vigen's presser today that I got halfway through because I started watching it right before we recorded. Stats FCS poll came out. We'll briefly touch on that. And then Ryan and I are going to go into the McNeese State game. We're going to recap what we saw. And after that, we'll transition into the preview of the Morehead State game. And for that, we had previously today recorded an interview with Chuck Mraz, the voice of the Fighting Eagles for like 35 years. And he has a fantastic voice. So you're in treat. Your ears will be in for a treat. And he broke down pretty much everything Morehead State Eagles and gave us pretty much just a 101 class on the football team. So we'll play that audio for you. We'll come out of that, and Ryan and I will talk slightly a little bit about what we're looking for on this game, because a lot of the conversation that we would preview took place already in that audio clip we'll play for you. And then we'll button it up with some Golden Coolies questions, some buy or sells, and maybe a bull prediction. That was a lot, but I think we got it.
Well, it's a jam-packed episode, kind of back to our normal course of action. We got some good Golden Coolie questions. So we want to make sure that we save enough time at the end for that. I think the interview with Chuck took about 25 minutes, maybe by the time all said and done. So we'll be conscientious of that. We try and keep all of our episodes around an hour. But yeah, fun episode. Let's get to it, man. Let's get right into it.
All right. Let's start with. Ooh.
What's in your golden coolie?
It still makes me laugh, dude.
I know.
I went out and got a new beer just for this today. It's out of Missoula, Big Sky Brewing. It's called Space Goat Pale Ale. It is a crazy looking can. It has like this, well, it's a goat in space, kind of futuristic looking. 5%. Pretty mellow pale ale, but picked it up for the pot today. It's pretty good. Sessionable.
That's important. It's still summer, still sessionable beer season. Is it still summer? Like when does fall officially start? I don't know my stuff here. Gotta be getting close.
Can't wear white pants anymore. That's after Labor Day.
Darn it.
Memorial Day.
All the white pants. My just drawers and drawers full of white pants. I can't wear anything white because it'll instantly spill on them. I have from District Brewing over here in Mount Vernon, Washington, where I used to reside, the Citra Act. It says Act. I don't know if it's supposed to be ACT or Act. No idea. It's a hazy IPA. District Brewing is a cool little brewery down there. They make really, really good pizza. Highly recommend if you're ever in that area. Their pizza is amazing. Their beer is pretty good. 6.9% alcohol. Nice. It's all right. It's an IPA. It tastes like an IPA. I don't think I'd probably pick it up again. It's not a bad IPA. It's an IPA. And sometimes I try and I fail. I bought it mainly for my wife to bring to this jam session she went to, where a BYOB musical jam session where she brought like her ukulele and went and jammed with some people, and you're supposed to bring your own beer. And I gave her that option. She wanted to bring that because we're in Washington. I assume people would appreciate an IPA. It's all right. It's not as good as my backup beer here, which is actually Jeremiah Johnson's Citra IPA, which I prefer over this one. But hey, I got a beer. We're talking Bobcat football. I'm not upset.
I appreciate that you're trying with the IPAs.
I do try.
That's more than I can say. Yep. All right. Nice work. All right, let's get into just, let's talk about the FCS poll right here. Nothing changed as far as the stats poll. The stats poll came out about halfway through today. I kept checking the morning, and no big surprises. We're still number 4 in the nation. The Grizzlies number 3. South Dakota State was number 2, and North Dakota State was number 1. Excuse me. The biggest thing was, and it has nothing to do with Bobcat football, Kennesaw State went from number 8 down to number 19. I saw their score. I'm not going to be able to repeat it off the top of my head, but yeah, that was the biggest mix-up in the whole thing. Eastern Washington came in at number 12. They were 13, and Weber State's at 16. So that's pretty much it for the Big Sky Conference in the FCS stats poll. But none of that's really surprising. It's good to see Montana State be number 4 in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, nothing matters right now, assuming you don't lose. No one's going to really change. Everyone's going to be probably winning most of their out-of-conference games, unless it's an FBS game.
Yeah.
And when you lose those, you don't really typically get punished in the poll. So, nothing really to talk about there. It's fine. It is what it is. But
all right, let's recap some of the news.
I do have something here. We didn't talk about this. When you were talking about polls, I'm like, wait a minute. The Big Sky Conference or the Big Sky Podcast Network power rankings, Foley. Can't forget those. Montana number 1, Montana State number 2, Sac State number 3, Weber State number 4, Idaho number 5. Yeah, it's an Idaho heavy network. Eastern Washington number 6. There's your top 6. So just thought I'd throw that out there for to chew on from the other podcasters around the Big Sky Podcast Network. Bobcast number 2.
Yeah, I could see that. I would have put Eastern number 5 over Idaho. Gunnar Talkington. Come on. Like Eastern having another quarterback who's passing for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Yep. I mean, that's
unreal, man.
It's Tennessee State, coached by Eddie George, which is an HBCU in the, oh, goodness, I don't remember the conference off the top of my head. But not a historical power. So good. I mean, that's still a great performance, but we'll see what happens when he gets into some more of the Big Sky play. But is likely going to be same as always, same as every other Eastern Washington quarterback since the beginning of time. You're good for 350 yards minimum and 4 touchdowns a game.
He also had like 56 some passes or something.
You're good for 50 passes. That's all they do.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. All right. Well, let's get into the game that happened in Bozeman. Before we even get into anything, let's just say Gold Rush looks phenomenal on television. It just keeps getting better and better. We were there last year. The shots with Alex Eshelman and just the sea of gold, the student section behind, just looked unreal. And all the photos that came out of that game. Oh, man. Way to go, Bobcat fans. You are making the premier FCS venue for a game. That I don't think that can be beat, honestly.
No, I mean,
I was trying to rack my brain. I was like, that's probably the best atmosphere in FCS right there.
I mean, it might be the best single game atmosphere. Like an average game, maybe not so much, but yeah, Gold Rush has got to be up there. Now, speaking of like HBCUs, they do all those like big marching band things. They have the SWAC championship games. I think those are pretty off the hook. But yeah, I mean, Gold Rush has got to be toe to toe with anything else you can put up there outside of maybe Brawl of the Wildcat Grizz. But for just a single game event, Gold Rush, man, Montana State has really done well. It looks so good on TV. The only thing that didn't look good was the fact that McNeese State was basically wearing the inverse colors of ourselves. So there was just way too much gold on the field. It was kind of, it was a little blurry and a little painful to look at. But other than that, it looked fantastic.
Oh, it just made me proud. Just to see where we've come. Because I remember our first Gold Rush and then everyone since then. And it's just unreal to see it was like what, 21,000 fans?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the total is there, but
I think we set a record. We set a record with heat and we set a record with attendance. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And it was cool seeing Alex Singleton down there enjoying his first Gold Rush as a fan. So that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on the pod, Alex. I tweeted at you. Come on. Everyone liked my tweet, but you never responded, Alex. So please come on the podcast.
It'd be fun, man. He's got a big old bushy beard. It looks good. Hey, we're 1-0. We beat McNeese State 40-17. It looked like a dominant victory. In my instant reaction, I kind of leaned a little bit different, but we're going to start talking about it. We got to start with the stats, though, and that's your game there, buddy.
All right, well, let's take a look at the stats. The Bobcats win this game 40-17 on Gold Rush. Bobcats 26 first downs to just 11 for McNeese State. The Cats compiled 359 yards on the ground on 59 attempts for 6.1 yards per carry with 3 touchdowns. McNeese State mustered 158 yards. I'm pretty sure all of that was on 2 carries on 25 attempts, 6.3 yards per carry for 1 touchdown. They lost 37 yards on the ground, so we were able to stuff them quite a few times on sacks and whatnot. The Bobcats passed for 182 yards on 11 of 21 passing for 8.7 yards per attempt and 16.5 yards completion. That's pretty good. 2 touchdowns there. McNeese State held it just 145 yards on 12 of 23 passing with 2 interceptions both by Callahan or Riley. Then we keep scrolling down, so 541 total yards of offense for the Bobcats to just 303 for the Cowboys. The Cowboys only ran 48 plays. The Bobcats ran 80 plays. That was complete domination in terms of plays ran. You look at the fumbles. The Cats fumbled the ball 3 times and lost 2 of them, whereas McNeese State fumbled it once and kept it allegedly. Anyway, 6 penalties on the Cats for 55 yards, which was not good to see. Just 2 on the Cowboys for 30 yards. So they were both personal fouls. It looks like both 15-yarders. And that's really kind of the main stuff there. Individually, we have Tommy Malott going 11 for 19 for 182 yards. Or did you want to take them individual? I guess we kind of pass this typically. I'm trying to think how we've done this historically. Early season form
Go
here.
for it, bro.
Tommy Malott, 11 of 19, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns for a long of 50 yards. He was sacked twice, which we'll get into that conversation. Start of the show, Lane Sumner, 24 carries, 176 yards for 7.3 yards per carry with a long of 40. Jared White, 7 carries for 90 yards, a long of 48, 12.7 yards per carry. That's going to be the big story here is the rushing attack for the Bobcats. And receiving was led by, yardage-wise, Lane Sumner, 2 receptions for 52 yards with that little rail pass thing that the Cats like to do that, Taylor Housewright likes to do. Ravi Austin came down with 3 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown, and Willie P came down with 3 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. It was mainly the Knox Kadum show over on McNeese side, 11 for 21, 126 yards, 1 touchdown, picked off twice, sacked 4 times. Cam Ransom came in through 2 passes, was sacked twice. It was a really dominating performance. So there's the stats. So where do you want to go from here? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I just want to mention a couple of our defensive stats as well. We had Sebastian Valdez had 2.5 sacks, if I remember right. Let's see, there it is. Yeah, Sebastian had 2.5 sacks. Blake Schmidt had 1 sack. Ben Seymour had a half of a sack. David Alston had a sack. And Willie Patterson had a sack, apparently. Somebody else must be wearing number 11.
Yeah, Kenneth Iden was wearing number 11.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Willie P with the sack.
They gave Willie Patterson. And I think Tommy Malak on here, too, is for like a pass breakup, but that was James Campbell, who wears number 4 as well. So good job, guys. Yeah, the stats. I think the one that I would just pick one that came out to me was just Lane Sumner. He had himself a day in 176 yards on the ground, 50 through the air. So he accounted for 226 yards of total offense of our 500 and some odd yards. And he could have easily had probably 100 more if those 2 plays in the first quarter. It might have been first quarter, could have been second quarter, but he had one of those touchdowns called back. That was probably like a 45-yard run, and he had another one with a rush Reimer hold. So he had himself a day, and we knew Lane was capable of that, and it's just really good to see that he's just shining. He's got a chance now with Kagan out. And Kagan, that would have been another thing with the injury stuff. We didn't actually mention that Kagan's probably going to be maybe out for the year. Coach Vegan kind of touched on it in his presser today that he's dealing with basically some neck stiffness, and they're just being pretty precautionary with his return. So Lane's going to get a lot of touches with Afonso still on the shelf, and he made a lot of it.
He did, absolutely. He was, I think a lot of us thought Lane was capable of that stuff. He showed a lot of that kind of stuff in 2019. When we were much more of a running back by committee. We had like 3 running backs with over 400 yards that year. But it was really good to see him come out and play like that, because honestly, he was most of our offense for a good portion of that game. Without Lane making those runs, the Bobcats would have been in big trouble in this game. So Lane Sumner, a very capable third-string back, honestly could be starting for the Cats, could be starting for plenty of other teams in the Big Sky and the FCS. He looked shifty. He looked strong. He looked fast. I mean, what's not to like? I love the way he ran. He looked really good running. He hit the hole quickly. He was decisive in which way he was going. I mean, that was almost a perfect game from Lane, except for the fumble. He did cough the ball up, so that would be the one knock on Lane Sumner there. But other than that, he had a pretty stellar game.
The only true fumble that happened during that game.
Yeah, there was a lot of questionable fumbles in this game. Let's talk about that. That is such BS on that. The worst one was Tommy Wallott's fumble. That very clear evidence. His knee was down, all the way down, and they didn't even review it. I don't understand why. Okay, so the other one you're talking about would be when it was Knox Kadum, whatever. The Cowboys quarterback was going to try and punch it in on 3rd and goal from like the 2. And the ball came out, fumbled in the end zone. The Bobcats pounced on it. They ruled it a touchback on the field. they reviewed it, and I don't know the circumstances here. Was McNeese the ones who threw a challenge flag, or did the refs just decide to take a look at that?
From television, I couldn't tell. All of a sudden, all I knew that they were just lining up for an extra point, and everybody's like, "What?" Like even the announcers were caught off guard. It was silly because the replay, he fumbled the exchange on the RPO. Like it totally came out. He pulled it from the running back. It came out of his hand, and it was out. And he was like, "Oh no!" And he reaches for the ball, and it just goes into the end zone. And they claim his knee was down. I don't know how his knee even got down in the play.
I mean, he had the ball kind of trapped on his leg as he was kind of like you said, kind of Bosch exchange. He had it trapped on his leg, but it was the clear photograph, like the still from the replay showed the ball was like off of his leg before his knee hit the ground. It was so I don't understand how they could overturn it. That's the biggest thing, is they overturned it. Which is absurd. You have to have such conclusive evidence to overturn a ruling on the field.
Yeah.
But so then they botched that one, and then Tommy Malotz is very obvious too, but they didn't review it. And somebody on the
Coach
Bobcat
Vegan
message
said he was
board,
going to get some.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say sorry there. I interrupted you. Coach Vegan said he was going to get some clarification on that. And he's going to reach out to the conference and try to get some clarification why they didn't allow that to be overruled.
Yeah, because I think somebody on the board said Vegan wanted to challenge it, and he was told he couldn't. Now, but so that's why I'm asking: did the Cowboys challenge the first one? And if not, how come the refs decided let's look at this one, but let's not look at this one? Very confusing, because one was a scoring opportunity and one wasn't. Like, it was just weird. Like, why wouldn't you look at it? The photos, the stills of that are so clear. He was down. so clear. Oh, okay, we got that out of the way, the first thing. We're going to be kind of all over the place on this first episode where we aren't in the groove yet. We're not in our mid-season form, as the pundits say. But that was egregious. Both of those terrible. So, yeah, Lane Sumner's probably the only real fumble the whole damn game.
Where do you want to go with this?
I don't know. So,
go
ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, I got some thoughts. I got some questions for you because I did the instant reaction show, which typically would come out on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, but I have to learn how to edit. That's been Thorny, and he does such a great job on making it sound so good. But like we said, Thorny was out, so that didn't come out till today.
But you did
record
my
thoughts
it
are out there
on Saturday.
Yes, I did. Up in my closet. It sounded nice. Anyways, I want to ask you, what do you think of Taco Dowler?
All right, we can start there. Taco Dowler, I think he's going to be explosive. Like, you could just see it. Like, he's gonna bust a big one. He may not score this year. We did have a Golden Coolie question about Taco Dowler scoring.
That was my bold prediction.
That was your bold prediction.
I made a bold prediction. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I
your bold prediction was Sumner going over 150.
Are you sure it was Sumner or was it Kagan Williams? Because I didn't know he was out at the time. So I think I would have said Kagan Williams. Like, I heard you say that on the Instant Reaction show. I'm like, I'd love to take credit for that, but I'm pretty sure I would have said Williams. I think Taco's got an awesome future. He looked fast out there. He looked good on the sweeps too. Like, he's going to be a star, man. Like, a true freshman like that is already getting snaps like that. Maybe they'll redshirt him, maybe they won't, but I think he's going to be too valuable. Like, I can't see them redshirting him. Like, he's going to have to play. We need.
Did you see how he fielded the punts with ease, just like nonchalantly, and how that's like, compare that to like Willie P. Catching the ball.
I mean, Taco did it like his entire high school career, I believe. I don't know if Willie P did that in high school because he was a quarterback, I think, in high school. So he probably didn't field a whole lot of punts. So Taco is more of a natural or more of a experienced punt catcher. But yeah, I was excited to see it. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Okay, I got another question for you. What did you think about how we used Sean Chambers?
I didn't love it. I don't hate it. I'm not sure what I think about it. It was weird. I love that they had him and RJ Fitzgerald back there. Like, that's a heavy package. And they did an RPO with Sean Chambers and RJ Fitzgerald. Who would have ever called for that or thought that was going to happen at any point during the season? RPO with RJ Fitzgerald, because I'm excited to see RJ Fitzgerald actually keep one of those, and I think he will. My bold prediction is at some point RJ Fitzgerald rushes for a touchdown this season. It's going to happen. Don't know when. It's going to happen. There's a lot you can do with it. Eventually, he'll throw the ball. They didn't show much. I think they're just trying to get on film him just pounding teams up the middle, and they're going to do more with it later. But I didn't particularly love it. It takes the flow away. I like keeping hits off him a lot down at the goal line because that would be him just plowing up the middle because that's what would happen. But I don't know. It's going to be predictable if they don't change it up. So I don't know. I don't know where I am on it. Didn't love it. How about you? I mean, you're documented as not liking it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was echo everything you had said. I'm on the fence because we got 2 touchdowns out of it, but tape's out.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's
I'll give you
part of the
another
plan.
quote.
The tape being out of that specific version of it.
Yeah. It's probably, I
big
had
brain
thought about
stuff
that today. Yep. What did you think of here? I'm just going to throw you a big one. The defense.
A little concerning. I expected the defensive line to maybe not just smother everyone like they did. I wasn't really expecting gash plays based on poor angles and bad tackling, which is what we saw.
Yeah.
Didn't love it. McNeese State has speed. They're not like an untalented roster, but they're a Division I team like everyone else. They got some dudes, and maybe they're going to be better than people predicted, but I did not like what I saw. We're not used to seeing the Bobcat defense give up big plays. And that might just be we're better offensively, and we're just worse defensively, but we're still a really good team from the sum of those changes. But I don't know. I didn't love it. We got to shore that up. We got to tackle better. I think it's clear, like Reddy Short played okay, and I think he may have been the 3rd leading tackler, but I think Rylan Ort, and in particular last year, oh my gosh, who was the safety last year? It's killing me.
Jeff Manning.
No, the guy.
Trey Webb.
Yeah, Trey Webb. Yeah, I think we're going to miss Trey Webb. I think Rylan Ort would be a good stand-in, so I'm excited to see Rylan Ort get back. Reddy Short hasn't played a lot of football, so I mean that's like one of his first starts in a while. So we'll see. But I think the secondary kind of concerned me a little bit there. But overall, not super impressed, but lots of time to fix things. I can't tell if it was bad play calling too. Really, Matt Garza's first time. They were trying to figure out what McNeese was going to do. That made it challenging. I mean, there's lots of weird factors in this game, but overall came away a little slightly concerned, but I'm not panicking yet.
We looked like we over pursued a little bit, maybe a little too aggressive, and sometimes we weren't hitting our fits. I think that led to those big plays. And we also missed Troy Anderson on the back end. Troy was the guy that erased a lot of mistakes for us last year on that 75-yard gallop from I can't remember his name right now, but Troy would have caught him maybe like 30, 40 yards down the field, but we don't have Troy anymore. So yeah, I'm kind of echo what you said a little bit. Like, second half looked a lot better though.
It did. And a concerning part for me too, and that we're talking through it here a little bit. We blew around the ends, which did not seal the edge. We didn't seal the edge well, is what I'm basically saying. I've been concerned before the year started that the combination of Ben Seymour and Brody Grebe would be very good at getting to the quarterback, but wouldn't be so awesome at staying home and being run stoppers. Ben Seymour had a good game. Like, I thought actually Ben Seymour had a game that put himself on the map a little bit. Brody Grebe, I didn't really notice him having too much of an influence on the game. I think he may have had a sack at one point, maybe down the end, but most of the sacks were Brody Grebe and Ben Seymour like getting around the edges and the quarterback stepping into the middle and then getting flattened by Sebastian Valdez. But when the two ends come around like that and then they hand the ball off to the side and there's nobody home, and that's where the big gashes came from. But I just don't know if that's scheme. They're over pursuing. They're a little too aggressive. Like, I'm not smart enough at football to know these things, but it seemed to me a little too aggressive on the defensive line, led to some openings, and there was nobody home to tackle after that. Nobody named Troy Anderson to chase the play down. We're not going to talk about Troy all season. I promise.
Lots of stuff to improve upon.
Yeah. And the defense couldn't shed blocks. Last thing I want to say, they need to get off blocks much better than that. I thought McNeese State could have been called for holding several times, but you got to get out of those. That's how football works. If you guys got your jersey, you got to break off of that. And the defensive line didn't do a good job of that, and the linebackers didn't do a great job either.
All right, last question for you, Thorny, on my part at least. What'd you think of Tommy Mlat?
Underwhelmed. I don't know. I kind of bought into the hype that it was going to come out and set the world on fire, and he looked okay. Like, didn't look stellar throwing the ball. Didn't look bad. I'm not saying he looked bad by any stretch, but I don't know. I was expecting with the offseason, like, all right, now he's got the whole system. He's had the summer and the fall camp to take control of the team. I mean, part of that could be the offensive line. Still being a work in progress, a young offensive line. But he tried to take off a little too much, and man, McNeese State was ready for him running the ball. They were very sound tacklers. They had a guy watching him. Anytime he tried to go out of the outside, a guy slid over there and was waiting for him. And Mlat, most of the time, could not make him miss. In fact, he ran and then tried to put the brakes on and just got tackled. Like, that happened multiple times, trying to get to the outside. Somebody was faster than he was anticipating at the end of that run. By and by, I think there's obviously lots of room for improvement there, but overall, not super impressed game one, but it's a game one. That's his first non-playoff start, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That is kind of weird to think about. I was expecting to see more passes other than just the sideline passes that we were seeing last year. I thought Montana State probably limited his game plan last year just to what he was comfortable with. Obviously, Taylor Housepray wouldn't do that. I expected to see, I don't know. Well, for instance, we hit Derek Snell across the middle. We hit Ravi Alston across the middle. Just more route trees, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we see the same plays over and over again. I'm starting to believe that Tommy's just missing stuff that's over the middle. One time, they showed him pulling the ball down. It was just a camera angle was behind him. And there's Derek Snell sitting in the middle of a wide open zone, like a first down. And Tommy's just got to see that. That's easy money right there.
That stuff will come. It'll slow down for him.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think as he matures as a quarterback, that will come. But I was expecting to see that right now.
Yeah.
You look across the Big Sky. That's the thing is it just kind of pound your head a little bit. You look at Eastern Washington, you look at Sacramento State's quarterback, you name pretty much any other school in the Big Sky, they have a competent quarterback just slinging it across the yard. Montana State hasn't had that in forever. We have Tommy Mlat, who is a Big Sky preseason all-conference quarterback, and he looked really average to me. He did. I really liked Tommy Mlat, but the game looked a little fast for him. I think that's what I was thinking about this. I think the game just came a little too fast. You said it right. McNeese State, they were prepared for him. They were faster than what he was prepared for. I thought McNeese State's linebackers were lights out. They had really fast linebackers and a really good secondary as well.
Yeah,
Very impressed
there was
with those
plenty
guys.
of plays where Mlat put the ball in the air and the defensive back was just glued to the wide receiver. I thought their coverage was pretty darn good. I don't think we had bad wide receivers by any stretch. I just think that that's the old adage, right? Southland speed. They're fast. They're fast down there, and they were fast on Saturday. They played fast, and they made a game of it for sure. And they were big and strong on the defensive line too. They had some big boys, and they put some moves on some of the offensive line. Like some of them were embarrassingly bad. If you watch the replays, I think Rush Reimer just got coasted on an underarm hook swim move thing. Just beat instantly. But that's going to improve. The offensive line, that, they get a C+ for me, maybe a B- for their first start. Okay, but every one of them, you can go back and look at the tape. Every one of them just got beat at one point. There was several times that I had I was fortunate to watch the game knowing the outcome. So I could sit there and when you're watching the game live, you're watching the ball, right? Most likely you're watching the ball. You're watching the fun stuff. I'm sitting there watching, all right, I know the outcome. So let's look at the offensive line. Who's in on this one? I'm pausing it, making sure I know the the personnel on it. And there was times where two Bobcat offensive linemen went after the same guy, and then the other guy just came in unblocked. And I don't know if that's a missed assignment. I don't know if that's Tommy Millott needing to make that call or Justice Perkins. I don't know who's in charge of that. That happened several times. So there's just some sort of communications going on there that can be cleaned up. And overall, I mean, I'm optimistic about it. They got a lot better in the second half, but offensive line's got to play better if we want to be able to go the distance. But the distance being like into the playoffs, like deeper into the playoffs.
Sure. Do you have any other thoughts on McNeese State?
I mean, I could talk forever on this. I could talk forever. Jared White.
I know.
Jared White. He looks like a stud out there. Like he's not a speedster, but man, he's got great balance. He's physical. He's explosive. I'm excited to see what he can do. I believe
stiff arm.
Yeah, the stiff arm was just brutal, and it didn't even slow him down.
That was cold.
He kept his eyes downfield, and he just like pushed the guy down like it was nothing. I believe Jared White is the recruit that we were texting, and you told me that you weren't very impressed with his film.
Don't do me like that. Don't do me like that.
Hashtag old take exposed. Okay, no, it's one game. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was exciting to see like that. He's down to like he would be. I thought he would have been 5th string. What happened to Elijah Elliott? Can we talk about that? He only got 1 carry. I don't know what's going on. I thought he got a screen pass earlier, but that may have been Jared White. I was a little confused on the. Yeah, because Jared White got credited for 1 reception for -2 yards. Was Jared White wearing 12 or 6 in this game?
He was.
He's wearing
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he played fairly early on. He got a screen pass. So he got just smoked on because McNeese State cornerbacks blew up a whole bunch of screen passes.
Yeah.
I don't know if we weren't blocking or they were just reading it,
us.
but they blew through multiple blocks and just tackled our guy instantly. It was not pleasant to watch. But yeah, Elijah Elliott, I thought he would have been 4th string at worst, but he seems to. I mean, is he the next Demarius Hosey?
Yeah, it's exactly where my brain went to. It's like I saw his body language on the sideline, and it was bad. And that's the thing he could work on. But you put in all that work. Think about that, Ryan. You put in all that work, and then all of a sudden a true freshman gets in before you and takes the lion's share of the same snaps you were taking last year. That's got to feel terrible.
It's got to feel terrible. And that's what, I mean, the transfer portal makes it easy for guys like Elijah Elliott to just bow out at this point. So we'll see what happens. If he, tries to get those carries back, that's what I would hope him to do. Like, work for it, want it, show the coaches you want it, get those carries. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think regardless, and this is from a team perspective, we're in a good spot at the running back. Whether Elijah Elliott gets into that 4th string spot, get some carries, or if it's Jared White, either way, we're looking good.
Agreed.
I want to Willie Patterson, man. He looks good out there. I don't understand how he caught some of those. Like, there's a guy that's like taller than him guarding him, and somehow he catches it like falling backwards. He looks good out there. I thought it was crazy that we're gonna have him on the outside, but it could work. It did work. He had 2 incredible catches.
His fake backflip was so classic.
That was so funny because
like, no.
That was Gold Rush last year, right? I think it was Gold Rush.
It was
where he did a black flip, got penalized.
His butt chewed.
He like did that little stutter and then like pointed at someone like and then just like ran off. It was so funny.
I wish he would have pointed at Vegan. Like, nope, I'm not going to do it this year, coach.
That was too good. I laughed pretty hard when I saw that because you have to know why he did that because he got penalized for it last year. So pretty funny. Pretty funny. But it looked good, man. The wide receiver core looked good as a whole. What do you think of the wide receiver core? I'm kind of curious.
Hard to tell. I was impressed with Robbie Alston. I mean, his layout catch on the sideline was probably one of the top plays of the game easily.
Did that make SportsCenter? It should have if it didn't.
Well, Willie's catch was amazing too. His reach on that, he contorted his body almost like, it was unreal, that picture. I was looking forward to seeing Cleveland Thomas get some more spots. And then the guy from Sac State, I can't think of his name right now.
Marquis
the sophomore
Johnson.
from Sac State, Marquis Johnson. Yeah, those guys will get their spots. I just think Malot's going to have to, share the ball a little bit more. I was really impressed with Derek Snell. Like his 2 catches, I was like, yeah, let's go.
He's a weapon, man. He's fast and he has moves. He's got like some moves for a big dude. So it's been killing me for like years. Like get the ball.
Right. He's trustworthy too. He's always making good things happen when he has the ball.
Yes, absolutely.
We should just go back to that all the time.
So many tight ends will catch the ball and then they get tackled awkwardly or they just look weird around the ball. Like he looks like he's like a running back up. Like he knows what he's doing with the ball in his hand.
Yep.
Let's make it happen.
You're right. That's a good point. It's a great point.
Okay, last thing I want to ask you about this. I think that's probably the last thing I have. I'm looking at my notes. Like I said, I was able to watch the game. I'm sitting there like typing notes like, oh, this, that. I noticed that we didn't really sub very much in the defensive line at all the way until maybe the fourth quarter. Like Blake Heel didn't get in until the fourth quarter. I think Kyle Rigg maybe finally got in very late. We didn't go very deep until very late. And that was something that was like kind of our calling card last year, going like 8-10 deep every game, like just package after package. Didn't seem like it happened very much. So what did you notice that, number one? And if you did, number two, what'd you think about it?
I did not notice that. Coach Vegan said that they played about 8 defensive linemen. So I wasn't really paying attention to the defensive line.
They didn't do it till late.
Until we were making sacks. And so I saw a lot of Blake Schmidt and Sebastian Valdez, but my eyes weren't drawn to the defensive line.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was just noticing that because, like I said, I was able to pause it and look at the personnel like whenever I felt like it, and I did not see. At some point, it was probably the third quarter. I'm like, has Blake Heel been in? Has anybody else been in? It's like been Valdez, Seymour, Grebe, and Schmidt. Yeah, Schmidt was making plays. Schmidt played really well, but there was those 4 basically all game long. David Austin got in late. It was David Austin and Blake Heel finally got in pretty late. That was about it. Paul Brott's on here with 2 tackles. I don't remember seeing him. But just kind of curious because that's like something we're going to need moving forward. And I think I listened to the post-game press conference and Vegan did mention that they want to get some more guys involved. But that's what they said all offseason about like Tommy Malott running the ball and not like running one running back into the ground. And here we are with Tommy Malott getting 16 carries and Lane Sumner getting 24 carries. Is that going to be Vegan's downfall? We just rides guys into the ground? I hope not.
Yeah, that's something to monitor.
Yep.
I was a little bit mad about that. That was my instant reaction show right there. It was a little bit salty.
Yeah, I mean, talk all offseason about not wanting to do it, and then the first game, you do it.
We got a game coming up.
You'll hear it. But
we got a game coming up that seemingly opponent where we should be able to rotate some guys in, you would think. So that's something that's like going to be on my radar coming up on Saturday.
For sure. All right. Well, that's probably a good time to play the audio from Chuck Mraz before about Morehead State Eagles coming to town on Saturday. Is there anything else you want to say about McNeese State? Give you one last chance here. It's our first episode. We're excited to be talking football. It's probably gonna be a longer episode, whatever. We'll get better. I promise. We'll get more succinct later. But I want to talk about everything. I'm not even done. I don't want to be done. I just know that I'll talk forever if I don't. And I apologize in advance. Fully.
We have some Golden Coolie questions.
We do have to answer those. But after we were done recording with Chuck, Foley was like, "You steamrolled me at the end there." And it's true. I did. I was so excited. I'm sorry. I answered all of his questions. It's like one of my favorite things in the world when someone who doesn't know much about Bobcat football asks me about Bobcat football. Oh yeah, I will talk your ear off. And I apologize, Foley. I am sorry. I'm sorry to the listeners. You're going to get a heavy dose of me. But you did a whole episode by yourself. All right, let me have a few minutes.
You'll have to endure some awkward pauses between Chuck and I as well. So I apologize for those.
I'll edit those out.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
All right.
Without further ado, here's Chuck Mraz, the longstanding voice of the Morehead State Eagles.
All right, Bobcat fans. Well, now we welcome in Chuck Mraz, who is the veteran voice of Morehead State football, or of the Morehead State football program for going on 30 some odd years. Chuck, thanks for joining the show here today.
Oh, great to be here.
Yeah, Chuck, thanks for joining us. We were excited to talk to you about the upcoming game from the Montana State point of view. I'm not sure. Ryan, I just thought about this. And maybe Chuck, you might know, has the Bobcats and Morehead State played before?
Not during my tenure. And I don't really think that they've ever played before. I think this will be the first ever meeting, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, I also just thought about this is the second straight week that we're playing another MSU. It's just MSU's all over the place. McNeese State, Morehead State, Montana State.
We have that same problem in basketball. Murray State is leaving our conference after this football season, but when we play them in basketball, for instance, it's MSU versus MSU, so I have to differentiate between our MSU and, say, Murray in that case. So, yeah, I've been there, done that.
All right. Well, Chuck, I have the first question for you. Tell us a little bit about your coach, Rob tenure. We know he's been there since, roughly about 2013 as a head coach, and you were just chatting with us. He has a previous history with Morehead State, and not just a little bit about him, but about the culture he's built at Morehead State.
Yeah, it's been an interesting watch to see how that's come along. Rob came here in 2001 initially as an assistant, as our quarterbacks coach, and then worked his way up to offensive coordinator. And then when Coach Ballard left after the 2012 season, he was named the head coach. Rob was. We've had very explosive offenses under Rob, a very creative offensive mind. I think he's a former quarterback himself in college. He knows the game very, very well, very intense individual. And we're in a kind of a different situation. We're playing Division I football, but it's a non-scholarship brand of football. Of course, we play in the Pioneer Football League, which, is a non-scholarship league. He's had to try to find a way to negotiate that because we are the only public school in what is basically a private school league, which means we're up against some financial challenges that the private schools don't face. They can do a lot more with their finances in terms of the flexibility than what we can do. And so here in recent years, in the last couple of years or so, Rob has changed a little bit in that recruiting philosophy that he's had. He's been looking for more transfer type players, whether they be junior college or from other universities, mainly Division I universities. And that seems to be changing not only the culture, but also the talent level in this program. And it's starting to pay off. In the spring of 2021, we went 4-3. Then last year, of course, 7-4. And I think it's a good idea to do that because a lot of these transfers, when they come here, they're committed to this program. A lot of the freshmen come in, and because they're not held by scholarships, if they're not playing, they leave right away. So you have a bevy of them that will leave after their first year here, and they're tough to replace. So there's that constant roster turnover that you deal with. And now with this change in how we recruit, that's changed too as well. We have players that are stuck. They really feel like they belong to Morehead State. They're committed to Morehead State, and they'll stay here, whether it's 2, 3, maybe 4 years.
Well, it sounds like Morehead State had some real talent that stuck around for quite a few years last year and finished second in the Pioneer last year. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that graduating class, some of the talent that Morehead State lost, and maybe how they're working to replace that talent this year?
Yeah, they had, I think, the highest number of seniors ever in the program. I believe it was 20 plus, and I'd never seen that many seniors since I'd been here. I mean, we had the senior day ceremonies, and we had to order a meal during it to go ahead to make sure that we had something to eat before the game started. But it was interesting. A lot of great seniors left here, and with them, the talent level we're in a situation we're unsure of right now because we're replacing a lot of great players. We lost our quarterback, Mark Pappas, who set several records. We lost our top receiver in B.J. Bird, who is an All-American, who caught 90 passes last year for over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. He was a real playmaker for us. We lost our two top rushers in Isaiah Aguero and Earl Stoudemire. We lost our fine defensive end of Kansas transfer, Vaughn Taylor, who had 23 tackles for loss last year and 10 sacks. We lost our middle linebacker, Vincent Winey. We lost our two top cornerbacks. So there's a lot of change on both sides of the ball. And quite honestly, I'm getting used to all the new guys myself.
So looking at the Eagles, what would you say might be their strengths coming into this year? I know you only have one game against Mercer, and that didn't fare well for you guys. And then maybe on the flip side of that, Chuck, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing early on?
Well, I think some of the challenges are just, when you change quarterbacks, obviously you change the identity of your offense. And Grady Kramer comes from a fine program up at Fort Thomas Highlands in northern Kentucky. Last year, he had a chance to play a little bit. He threw, I think, 21 passes for the season. He's been out there a little bit and had a chance to see what the game is like. He's got a great arm. He's got a tremendous arm. He may have the best arm I've seen in a long time here. But, the jury's still out as to what kind of quarterback he'll be because he hasn't really played more than one game as a starter, obviously. He's 6'3", 218 pounds. He's a smart young man. His backup is a kid from Texas by the name of Carter Cravens, who looks like a good player too as well. He got a chance to do he got some mop-up duty in that game against Mercer, and I think he looked pretty good. Receiver-wise, with B.J. Bird gone now, you've got Jeremiah Scott and Christian Graves on the outside, I think are two good receivers. And then you've got Matt Guilfoyle back as one of our slot receivers. So I think really if I was going to look at the strength of our offense, it might be the three returnees on the line led by our all-PFL pick Cam Marriott, who's moved from left tackle now to center, along with Jackson Spears, who's a guard, and Jacob Ungru, who's the right tackle. That's a good core to build an offensive line around. And we've got some pretty good receivers right now. The running back spot is still up for grabs in some ways. Chance Harris, who was a freshman last year and rushed for, I think, 139 yards, is right now the number one guy. But we're still looking for someone really to establish themselves there. Harris may hold the job the entire year, but there may be guys like Xavier Lomax and James Lewis and another guy by the name of Adebayo who might come in and play quite a bit. We're still developing that identity, though, as an offense. And really, in a game like this one coming up, for Grady Kramer, he's got to have protection when he goes back to throw. We do a lot of quick stuff. That's fine, but he's got the arm to throw it down the field, but he's got to have the time to throw it down the field. From the standpoint of our defense, we've got some pretty good guys. We've got two returning safeties, I think, are pretty good players. Cooper Krizek, who's all PFL at strong safety, and our free safety, Kyrie Keith, who led us with 4 interceptions last year, are good players. But replacing Vincent Winey in the middle at linebacker, that's tough because he makes a lot of tackles. He was averaging about 10 tackles a game. Losing Vaughn Taylor on the outside as an end, our leading rusher, that's tough too because he took a lot of pressure off the other guys. We're hoping that our Purdue transfer, Devin Connors, who played quite a bit last year, had some injuries. We're hoping that he can do some of the things that Vaughn did, but we're still developing our identity on defense too with Vincent Winey and Vaughn Taylor gone. Those were the two top players we had, and now we've got to find someone who takes over as that defensive playmaker as well.
So let's stick with the defense here, since that's the last thing you mentioned here. What are kind of some of the strengths, or maybe what's the calling card that Morehead State typically hangs their head on defense?
We'd like to hang it on turnovers. We did a great job with that in the spring season of 2021. We had a lot of interceptions and fumble recoveries, not quite as many in the fall season. I know that's what they'd like to get back to. In a game like this, especially against a team like yours with a great deal of talent, we're going to have to force the action. And I think we may blitz a little bit more, and I think we're going to try to take the ball away if we can. And that's going to be difficult. But I think last year you guys only had 10 turnovers for the entire season. But if we can maybe make some things happen and give our offense some field position, it'll be up to our defense to make some things happen and get that ball back.
So then the flip side of the coin would be the offense. You talked to us a little bit before we got on about a different offense. Never mind, it wasn't about necessarily the Eagles offense. How do you see the Eagles trying to attack Montana State on Saturday?
Well, I look for, again, a lot of quick passes. I really do. You'll see some bubble type screens, I think. Just quick routes where they try to sit down inside a zone somewhere and pick up 5 to 7 yards. Really, our passing game is almost our rushing game in some ways. Last year, we only averaged 99 yards a game on the ground. It was more of a West Coast style of offense that we used. The passing set up the running, and then every now and then we'd hit you with a deep shot here or there, maybe to B.J. Bird or somebody else. But we're going to try to get those quick passes out to get ourselves in situations where we're not second or third and long. We want to be in second and third and manageable, whether that's 3 to 5 or 6 yards.
So I guess I have a question then. So it sounds like they the Eagles are kind of forming an identity still, offense and defense. I guess, what are the expectations for the season, and maybe in particular, what are the expectations for this game here against Montana State?
Well, I don't have the list in front of me, but because we lost so many seniors, we were picked to finish in the lower echelon in the PFL in the preseason polls. But, that's to be determined in my mind, because I think that some of these new guys that we have are talented. Even though we lost a lot, I think we do have some guys, and once they get their sea legs under them, I think they'll be able to play. In a game like this, we've got to show up. We've got to make some things happen on our own. We can't have a lot of bad things happen early in the ball game, because playing, especially at your place with a great crowd we know will be on hand against a very talented football team, that can snowball out of control in a hurry if you're getting a lot of turnovers, penalties, and not getting some yardage and controlling the football.
Well, turnovers are certainly help the Eagles. I know the Bobcats had a few kind of turnovers that we're not accustomed to seeing this year. So it's certainly something that could keep the Eagles in the game. Like these kinds of games, you never know. Like if you let a team hang around long enough and get some turnovers, like these are where upsets can happen. So, we're looking forward to the matchup. I'm excited to see another kind of new program come to Bozeman. One of my favorite things to do is follow Twitter accounts of a team traveling to like Montana for the first time, and they snapping photos or, always checking out the mountains and stuff, scenery and stuff. So that's always fun. Are you making the trip up, Chuck?
No, we're going to be doing this broadcast remote. It's interesting. We started doing that, of course, during the COVID year, the 2021 spring season. We did all our road games remotely. We'll be doing our conference games in person this year. We did the Mercer game remotely, and it's quite a challenge. I want to say that because we depend so much on the production values that were presented by whatever TV crew is working a certain game. Some are better, some are worse, some are more challenging. We have to rely on our computer stats quite a bit, because it also includes a running play-by-play, which will tell you who the ball carrier was, or the passer, or the tackler, and how many yards were gained or lost, and what yard line you're on. And you really have to be on top of your game. There's a lot more mental strain involved and a lot more challenges involved in calling a football game remotely. Not so much calling a basketball game remotely, because you have a 94-foot floor, and you've only got 10 players to keep track of. But when you talk about a football game, you're talking about 100 yards of playing surface, and then you've got the end zone, so you add another 20 yards there, and plus you've got 22 guys running all over the place. And if you've got a wide shot, trying to pick some guys out at times, well, that can be pretty challenging. So I mean, my partner and I have to rely on one another quite a bit to try to figure out exactly what's going on.
I mean, we know that struggle just trying to do this podcast. We'll be trying to watch. I mean, it is on TV. You don't see the receivers going downfield. You don't know what's happening in the secondary. You can't see the routes develop. There's just so many things you can't see. And then, we're talking about the game and not being able to see these kind of things. So we, certainly understand the struggle, and obviously not to the level that you would be struggling with trying to do live in-game calls on stuff you can't see so far zoomed out or whitewashed. You can't even see a number or anything like that. But
yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. If there's a real wide shot, yeah, you can't read the numbers. There's no doubt.
Well, no doubt the Eagles are fortunate enough to have you, especially with your experience precedes you, sir. So 35 years worth of experience behind the mic. That's pretty awesome. That's something to hang your hat on for sure.
And if Bobcat fans, or maybe any Morehead State fans, or anybody listening to this wants to check out any of your work or anything like that, where can they find you?
Well, we broadcast through our website, msueagles.com, and also through our flagship station, which is WIVY, and they are online too as well. And if you've got an Alexa app in your home or whatever, like I do, sometimes I'll just ask them to play 96.3 FM WIVY radio, and it'll crank it up, and you'll be able to hear the ball game. But we appreciate the fact that we've had a chance to meet with you guys tonight and talk a little football. And obviously, we're excited about this weekend's ball game.
We're excited to play. It's football season. We just love watching football, watching the Bobcats. So we really appreciate you taking some time again. And, Chuck, thanks for coming on, and have a good night.
Okay, you too. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right. Well, that was our interview with Chuck. Really appreciate Chuck taking some time to come on. Like, it's so cool being able to talk to other people throughout the country and other programs, especially guys like Chuck Mraz and John Hattler last year, who was the voice of UT Martin. He had been there for a long time too. It's really cool talking to guys who've been at their programs for a long time and just know the ins and outs and everything about it. So, I mean, I hope that was a good listen for everyone. You learned a little bit about Morehead State as a program and the team coming to Bozeman on Saturday. And again, appreciate Chuck for coming on.
Did you know you said up, Chuck?
When? Me?
Yeah.
When?
During the interview.
I said up, Chuck?
I can't remember because it was a couple hours ago when we recorded it, but you said up, Chuck.
In what context?
Oh, moving something up or something blah, blah, up, Chuck. What do you think, up, Chuck?
Well, I apologize, Chuck, if I did say that. The tape doesn't lie. We'll find out. It's kind of like up dog, I guess.
He has such a good voice. Like, he's such a good voice, like a radio voice.
Yes.
Like, you could tell that guy's made to be a radio announcer.
Yeah, he's a play-by-play announcer. Like, his voice is perfect for it. So, yeah, they're a lucky program to have a guy like that.
Absolutely.
We've had like a rotating door, so it's always cool being a guy who's like 30 years at the same program.
All right. Well, let's do this. Thorny, let's talk about a couple things we want to see the Bobcats do during this game, and then let's wrap this up with some golden coolies.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't want to be like, what's the word I'm looking for here? But I mean, the Bobcats are going to win this football game most likely. So I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on the X's and O's type stuff. I think you hit it best. What do we want to see from the Bobcats in this game?
I would like to see Tommy Malott just have better vision for the field. I want to see more. I want to see him complete more than 11 passes. I want to see more than 19 attempts at passing as well. I know we're probably going to be the Bobcats of who we are. We're going to run the ball. And I think if this was a Jeff Choate team, if this was a Jeff Choate game, we'd probably have 400 yards of rushing by the end of this game, I would assume, or something close to that. I want to see a little bit more balance just because I want to see Tommy Malott progress as a passer. I mean, if this is a team, and let's be honest, like you said, I don't want to disrespect Morehead State at all.
There you go.
But this should be a team where, what's that?
I said that was the word. Remember I was trying to think of the word earlier. Disrespect. I didn't want to be disrespectful. That's the word I was trying to come up with.
I don't want to be disrespectful to them, but I think this could be a game where we could work on some stuff.
Absolutely. Actually, I had a question for you on the that. I was actually thinking about this earlier, and I didn't have a chance to ask it. How many passes, or I guess how many completions in particular, or I guess both, how many completions, how many passes roughly do you want to see from Tommy, or how many do you think we need to be doing to be like another contender title type team?
That's tough. It could be. It just depends on the team. I want to see what it looks like for the catch the 10-30 passes.
Like throwing 30 passes a game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 25 to 30 is kind of my sweet spot. I mean, every game is going to be different, of course. I'm more like an average type situation or like a goal. So I'm just kind of curious what you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
What else do you want to see?
Better fits on the run. I want to see the elimination of big plays. I want to see. I don't know. Gosh, the refs were just so terrible that they took away probably like 10 points from us last game, and I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see Montana State have 6 penalties while the other team only has 2. That was silly. So clean up some of the personal fouls, but although some of the personal stuff, like the Tayakata stuff, like where he checked the quarterback essentially in the shoulder, that was called back. That kind of stuff. Like, come on, we're just playing football. Like that's a silly. That kind of stuff you can't. That's like out of your hands.
That was the least worst of all the bad calls, in my opinion. He kind of blindsided the quarterback. I mean,
So here's what I really want to see. I want to see a lot of players play. I want to see a lot of depth come out. I want to see good run fits. I want to see us flying to the ball, aggressive, fast, and I want to see us spread the ball around. I don't want to see Lane Sumner get 24 carries this weekend. I want to see at least 3 running backs touch the ball, spread it out, a couple different concepts on some, tree concepts that we were talking about, but not show the whole hand. This is not the game where you're going to be dynamic in our passing game, but you should be able to complete some more passes just besides the fade. I like the fade, but I want to see something different. I do. We don't have Lance McCutcheon back there anymore. I mean, Willie P, he's doing a great job. And Robbie Alston, he's going to be he's an inch taller than Lance, apparently, according to Coach Fegan. But I don't know. I just want to see Tommy Mellott be more of a complete quarterback.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Talked myself into it.
That could be baby steps in that arena. But yeah, he's going to have to be more dynamic passing the ball than he was against McNeese State. Like, it's so weird, like how my viewpoint has changed since we made it to the national championship. Like, we're going to be a good team in the Big Sky Conference, like no matter what. Like my perspective is now, how do we compete on more of a national stage, and to be able to take that deep run playoff type team. Yeah, Tommy Lott's going to have to do more than he did on the ground and through the air. Honestly, like, his stats are only good rushing the ball because he had that broken weird play at the end of the game where he had like 20 some odd yard touchdown run or whatever it was. Before that, it was like 15 carries for like 30 yards or 20 yards. Like, he was just getting bottled up. He's got to be better passing and throwing the ball. As far as things I want to see, I'll probably take this baby step style. I want to see better tackling on the defense. I mean, just getting off blocks and tackling the ball carrier. I don't want to miss tackles. I think that's something I'd like to see. Overall, penalties need to be cleaned up a lot, whether they're bogus or not. That's certain teams get the MO where they just have all the penalties. At some point, it's not the ref's fault, it's you. And one game doesn't make anything, but that's what I'd like to see us clean that up a little bit. Offensively, I want to see the offensive line play together better as a unit. I think there's individual talent there. They're young. They're going to get better. I mean, that's going to happen. That's something I'm looking for, just the offensive line to kind of gel better. And yeah, Tommy Mellott completing 20 passes. That's what I'd like to see. 11. So he's going to basically double. Now, maybe he'd get pulled in the third quarter, and that changes this entire dynamic. But if he goes 4 quarters or at least like 3 quarters, get in the upper teens, get 20 completions on like 25 or 30 attempts.
My bold prediction for this next game is that he goes over 250 yards passing.
That was my exact one. You asked me to come up with a bold prediction, and I'm like, Tommy Mellott, 250 through the air.
High five, bro.
All right. Well, that's not very exciting content. We both have the exact same bold prediction.
I can't believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was my only one. I can't think of another one on the fly. Hey, somebody asked us, would the Bobcats get, 13 interceptions this year? Like, we're at, 3? Was there 2 or 3 left?
2.
So, yeah, 2. Good start. So
should have had 3. Jeff Manning had one go right through his hands. Come on, Jeff.
Yeah, he did right in the beginning.
Jeez.
I was trying to think, what's the other?
It doesn't get much easier than that.
What's another bold prediction I could have? I was like, well, a pick 6, I guess. If I'll let you have, Tommy. I'll do a pick 6 in this one because obviously we almost had one. Manning had one to go through his hands. We're ball hawking. We're looking good in that arena. But if you listen to Chuck Mraz, how he thinks that Morehead State will attack us, it'll be a lot of like slants or quick passes, screens, bubble screens. They're gonna get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly to minimize any overwhelming. Gosh, man, I can't think of words. That's hard about podcasting. You can't think about words when you want to think about it. Any mismatches versus their offensive line versus their defensive line. They're gonna get the ball out quick. I mean, that's how you mitigate that kind of problem. So we may not have a lot of opportunities to pick the ball off, but I'm still gonna go with pick 6.
Okay, let's move into some Golden Coolie questions. I'm going to ask you this. Bloom Gold Blitz says, who do you think will be the best player on the field, either side of the ball? No QBs.
Everyone always goes for the quarterback. Let Lane Sumner.
Ooh. It's going to go Sebastian Valdez. That was mine.
Yep. I was thinking Callahan, O'Reilly, Valdez, or Sumner were my 3 choices.
How many cheeseburgers can Marcus Ware eat in a single setting?
What kind of cheeseburgers here? Are we talking?
I knew you were going to ask that.
What was that place in Great Falls? What was that, like, old school, not Ford's, it was the place, Sandy's.
Burgermaster.
Zandy's or Sandy's?
Oh, Zandy's. Okay.
You could get 4 burgers for $1 when I was in high school. He could pound 100 of those. The patty was like the size of like I don't know, it was like 2 inches wide, and the burger bun was like 4 inches wide. He like had this. It was so pathetic. It was all bread. He could do 20 of any single burger anywhere.
McDonald's
20? Cheeseburgers. He could do probably 30.
Think so? 30 is a lot.
Is
a lot
it
of
though?
burgers
Is it though? For a 290-pound dude.
How many could you eat?
Me?
How much could you eat? Yeah.
If I was
in a single setting.
All right. So if you're not eating any fries or anything, I could probably get 10 down.
Whoa.
Those aren't very big, man.
There's no way.
Those are paper thin.
No way you
those
could
things
get
are
10.
paper thin. I mean, granted, you're eating 10 buns.
5.
But when you buy buns at
I bet
home,
you could get 5.
all right. Well, let's do this challenge. I issue a challenge
No,
to
it's
our
not.
listeners. How many? Film yourself eating McDonald's cheeseburgers. How many could you eat?
All right, let's keep this going. All right. Could you have completed the pass to Tommy Millott on the Philly special? This is a jab at Sean Chambers. I could. That was a terrible pass. I watched that pass probably 10 times today. They didn't get a finger on it. That was just a crappy pass. Sean Chambers, you're a Division I quarterback, and you couldn't make that throw. Shame on you.
I have 2 questions for you, Foley. When's the last time you threw a football around?
Like every day, man. I play football every day with my sons.
Okay, fair enough.
We run routes every day. Every day.
Because I don't throw the football around too much. I remember the first time I did it, like when I haven't done it for like a year or two. Like my arm is like a noodle arm. Like, oh yeah, I can't throw the ball far anymore. I'm 40. That's my first problem. Not yours, apparently. But when's the last time you tried to throw a football with like full pads on, and a helmet and shoulder pads?
Well, what are you trying to get at? Are you trying to defend Sean
I'm saying
Chambers
if you
here?
were inserted into that game right now, you couldn't complete that pass.
Yes, I could. I'm athletic enough to do that. That would have been easy for me.
In Gold Rush,
Easy.
full pads, which you've never worn before, you're not practicing.
You
You're
don't
just
think
out
about
there.
it. You just do it. It just takes over. You just
do
do it. I could have done it. Yes, I could have done
You
it.
could have done better than a guy who's thrown like
I'm
6,000
betting on
passes
myself.
in his professional.
Put it on the poll. Put it on the Twitter poll. Could Foley complete the Philly special to Tommy Milan?
Of course, my toxic trait is thinking that I could score a single point in an NBA game. So
I could have done it. I could have done it. Yes.
okay,
I would have been able to do it.
I'd like to think I could too,
100%.
but I'm just like I don't know.
100%.
Circumstances are hard or anything. Buy or sell, Tommy Millott will finish the season with more rushing touchdowns than Sean Chambers.
Bye.
I'll sell that. If they're going to use Sean for any time inside the 20, he's already got 2 up. I guess Millott did get 1. Yeah, I will buy it. Tommy will finish higher. Rethinking my answer.
Are you switching?
Yes,
those are all from Blue and Gold Blitz. Good
Yes.
job, Blue
Thanks,
and Gold
Blue.
Blitz. And those are
And
good.
Gold.
Those are
Blitz.
a new poster, Bobcat, 1963, with like a proper like spacing in between that. I like that. Buy or sell, Sebastian Valdez will lead the entire team in total sacks as a defensive tackle.
Ooh,
That
that's
is
a
a
great
really
question.
good question.
I mean,
Because we're all going to assume Brody Grebe will get there. But I mean, 1 game sample, that's tough. I'm gonna. Jeez.
I don't think. I mean, the precedent.
I'm still gonna sell. I'm gonna go with Brody.
I think there was that stud defensive tackle for Eastern Washington a few years ago, like Roland Williams or something like that, or Roland Williams was a professional
Samson
NFL player.
Ebicom or
No, it wasn't the Samson Ebicom. Anyway, he had like 10 sacks from his defensive tackle spot that year. He was a stud. I mean, it could happen. If it kind of plays out the way it did, where we keep collapsing the pocket and forcing the quarterback to step into it, and Valdez just wait there, if that's the trap we're laying every game. But overall, I'll probably sell it. I'm hoping I sell it because I'm hoping Greeby ends up with like 13 or 14 sacks. I don't think Valdez can get that many. Good question. Very good question. Made me think about it.
Yep. Very good question. Nice job. And then Hellcat. Oh, gosh. He was just answering all Bloom Golds. Let's see. Go down. Last one. Rich K says Big Sky Conference Player of the Week awards were given mostly based on statistics. Best stats against even the worst team in the country will get you a Big Sky Player of the Week award. So that being said, will Montana State win 0, 1, 2, or all 3 Big Sky Conference Players of the Week awards? Special teams, offensive, and defensive.
Is this just for this game against Morehead? I believe that's what he's asking.
No, in general, throughout the season. And he must have been listening to the instant reaction show because I mentioned Utah Tech. And he goes, by the way, Utah Tech is the new name for the Dixie State.
I listened to that too. I'm like, that's Dixie State, fool. They changed their name. So if we're talking all year, like we'll get 3 Player of the Week awards.
Gosh, man, I don't know. Maybe. Like I was looking at the voting today. I don't know what I was doing all the reading today. And might have been on 406 Montana Sports. Could have been on FCS. I'm not sure. Lane Stumner wasn't even on the list.
Wasn't even nominated.
Player of the...
Which was crazy.
Like, are you kidding? Like, what do you got to do?
I'm curious. I'm going to look this up. So keep talking. I think he has to be leading the conference in rushing, doesn't he?
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
You know what I thought? So there is a take that I wanted to get out there, just put out there. I thought Montana State. So here's a Cat Grizz comparison. I thought that the Cats. Well, I'll start with the Grizz. I thought the Grizz played as close to their ceiling as they're going to on the game against Northwestern State. I thought the Cats have a higher ceiling than the Grizz, but have a lot of room of improvement.
I think the Cats are nowhere near their ceiling. I don't know whose ceiling is higher, but yeah, you almost want any kinks and stuff to be figured out early on. You want to be getting better towards November. We've seen Bobcat teams in the past just be dominant in the beginning of the season and just fizzle. So, I mean, it can go both ways, but I don't think you can take away too much from either one right now.
Well, do you remember last year when the Grizzlies beat University of Washington? That was basically the best thing that happened to them all year long.
Yeah, and then
from there,
Sac State
everything
home,
was like measured against that. Yeah, I mean they beat us, and so that was like, they kind of thought that was pretty cool, but they didn't even make it to the semifinals.
No. See, I mean, you never know. It's early season stuff doesn't really mean a whole lot. And even middle season stuff. I mean, look at the way we got smoked in Cat Grizz and we went to the national championship anyway. Like, football's a funny sport, man. Yeah. That's why we love it. That's why we watch. That's why we talk about it, podcast about it, read about it. If we could smell it, we could. We would. Excuse me.
We need to in this episode.
Yes. Yeah, okay. It's going to be a longer one.
Yeah. We got to pick up a Golden Coolie winner. I know.
Well, it's got to be Blitz, right?
I know who we're going to go with. No, Bloom Gold has one. And if he wants another one, I got to go with Bobcat 1963.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Buy or sell, Sebastian Valdez will lead the entire team. Woo!
I used to have a cheering thing on
Bobcat 1963, you know the drill, man. Get at me. Get at Thorny. Contact us. I'm Common Cat. He's Celtic Cat. You can just email me on Bobcat Nation.
Sounds good, man. Well, that was fun. I hope everyone had fun listening to this. I know it's going to be a long one. I'm looking at our timer. We're probably about an hour 10 on this before I put in Chuck Mraz Morehead State audio. So we're probably like an hour 40 on this one, but it's our first one. I think people will enjoy it. We'll get better. I promise. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks to Manhattan Bank for being our new sponsor. I'm excited to start this partnership and get this going here. Thanks, Chuck Mraz, for coming on the show and talking some Morehead State football, making our job a little easier because all the research in the world we could do will be nothing as good as someone who knows a program like that coming on. You can find us on Twitter, RRCatcast. You can always find us on the web, rrcatcast.com. You can shoot us an email at rrcatcast@gmail.com if those other things aren't your cup of tea. And Foley, let's get our first victory. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.